Are you alive or are you living? What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me on another episode. I am your host, Alexa Benya, here for Walking Manifestator. And apologies in advance for my voice. I am a little congested, but nevertheless, we are going to move forward. And in today's episode, I wanted to ask the question that has helped me move the needle slightly forward and really allow me to understand that there is a significant difference between being alive and actually living. So, with that, what does that mean to you? If I could ask you this question and we're talking and having a conversation, if I asked you, what does alive distinguish from living? Now, maybe you have the answer, but for those of you that maybe don't really understand the difference, the way I like to see it is when you are alive, you are simply breathing. You are taking up oxygen in this planet of ours. You are essentially another zombie. Okay. That's the best way I can explain it. When you are actually living, you are, of course, doing the breathing part, but it's a little bit further than that. And that is actually aligning yourself with things that are symbolizing more than just an instant gratification, things that are actually allowing you to be fulfilled in life, things that are much more than just getting some status or some plaque on your wall that shows a master's degree that you've accomplished. Maybe that marriage that you just accomplished, maybe that, partnership that you accomplished. And don't get this wrong, because those are all amazing things in whatever way you are currently viewing this in, because we all have different goals, we all have different perspectives. But at the end of the day, when I think about living, I think about, what do I want to leave behind? What is the legacy that I want to be known for? And it's interesting because ever since I was younger, I always felt as if I was here to do more. And even in the times where, for those of you that know a little bit about my story, if you have not, I encourage you to listen to one of the first episodes. And even in those times where things were not really ideal, even in those times where things were not ideal, I can honestly say that there is this thing within us that if you pay attention to, we all have, but we have just been conditioned to ignore. I believe that we all were at one point or another actually willing to have aspirations. We actually had dreams. We actually had goals. We actually had things that we wanted to accomplish. However, because of society, because of external circumstances, because of other people that influenced our belief system, our views in the world, if you will, we gradually started to deter from that. And we gradually started to believe that maybe that was unrealistic. But I want to ask you, who made you believe that? And for at least myself, and feel free to fill in the blank for whatever is applicable for you, but at least for myself, it was external circumstances. It was things that were happening in my life, whether it was a teacher that didn't believe in me, whether it was my parents, whether it was things that I was doing that were reaffirming me of the fact that there was so much external noise that I started to believe that I truly didn't have that power to really be something better, is when I started to really become susceptible to a lot of the things that I was listening to. For the longest time, I felt like I had these goals and aspirations, but gradually, as I allowed other perspectives to come into play, it was like, maybe they have a point, right? I should listen. But then, as I've come to this realization, and I share this because I think that if you can realize what is holding you back, you can really make a significant change in your life. I realized that a lot of the people that weren't believing in me were people that had also, in their eyes, failed. And they only failed because they gave up. Because a failure is only a failure when you actually give up. In my book, it's actually a lesson now, right? If you fail, well, it's not really failing. You just learn another way that doesn't work, right? You just figure it out. Albert Einstein had something very similar that he talked about. There were so many, different types of experiments that he conducted, and people would be like, "Why don't you just give up?" And he's like, "No, actually, this is just the 10th or 100th or 1,000th way that I am not going to do whatever it is, right, that we're talking about here." So I think this is extremely important to notate that in the end, it all comes down to you. What is it that you're willing to allow into your energy? And what is it that you're willing to accept? And what is it that you're willing to reject and bring back awareness to what you actually want to focus and what you want to receive? By focusing on what we actually want versus what we By focusing on what we actually want out of life versus what we don't, we actually act as a magnet. So, the best way I can share this with you is that we all carry actual frequency, we carry energy, we actually carry this signal that we are putting out to the universe, is the best and simplest way to explain it. If you really want to understand more, I highly, highly recommend you start looking into quantum physics. I recommend this amazing podcast that is it's called Know Thyself by Andre. And he has amazing hosts that essentially talk more about different subjects and just give you different perspectives. And there's a lot of science that is actually starting to get caught up with the fact that we indeed perceive what we receive. And there's a lot of skeptics out there because they have still not allowed that perspective to sink in. And sometimes when you have been so embedded by something that has been told your entire life, and all of a sudden somebody pulls the rug from underneath and says, "Hey, actually, it's not like you thought, it's actually this way," some people tend to not take that well. The reason I share that with you is for two reasons. Number one, if you can understand you are a magnetic field, you are going to understand that you attract everything around you, good or bad. And some people, myself included, I would think you're telling me that I attracted that bad event. And there's like a domino effect, right? It's a series of events. There's all these timelines, there's all these different realities that are playing out at every time simultaneously. And again, this is something that I'm sharing with you based off my perspective, based off my belief system, my research. But you feel free to do with this information as you feel comfortable with and as you feel resonates with you. But why this is important to apply is because that conditioning of understanding that we are actually bringing that into our existence, we can start to understand that we do have a control over how we are reacting to these things that are happening and what that actually means for future situations that are going to transpire. So the thing here is for manifestations, when it comes to what you're looking to embody in your life, a lot of people think you're telling me to just sit there and tell myself that I am abundant and abundance is going to come to me. Well, you need to do work. There is actions that you need to actually take. However, the universe provides you with the stepping stones based off that electromagnetic frequency that you're carrying. And the reason I was sharing with you that there's people that are going to have certain belief systems that are just going to be what they leave this earth being actually a firm believer of is because they have a paradigm. They have things that have happened in their life that have basically conditioned them to believe in what they believe in. Now, when we understand that people in our external reality have had an influence on what we believe, now you can start really analyzing, what do you actually believe in? Like you, not these conditioning factors that have shaped you and molded you through the years. Who are you? And this is why that question, are you alive or are you living, is so important to answer. I want to share with you 4 key components that you should really try and understand better and answer for yourself, along with some quick little tips that maybe can help you in that journey of self-discovery. The first one is, what are your passions, right? So when we talk about your passions, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I understand that based off society, based off everything that we are seeing in social media, we are consumed by believing that if we have that shiny object, we are worthy. And if we don't, we're not worthy. We are conditioned to believe that if you have that slim figure, you're worthy. And if you're not, then you're not worthy. More things are changing, of course, but in a nutshell, that is what it is. If you have a 6-pack and you're a guy, society deems it as more attractive. But that's not true. That is simply a perspective of somebody. If you ask me, actually, I don't agree with that. I think that I'm totally deviating here, but I'm going to use an example. I think that there's guys that are super attractive that don't have a 6-pack, and I could care less about that because for me, I want truly to actually see who you are. Like, what are your passions? What are your morals? What are your goals in life? That is going to be a lot more appealing and sexy to me than a 6-pack and a pretty face, right? So all of these conditions that society has placed on us kind of restrict us, and they put us in this very, very tight container that essentially is stripping away that authenticity that we have. And I think that the more we ask these deeper questions and the more we have time to really sit with them, the easier it's going to be to really get away from all that external noise that is just clouding your judgment. So when we talk about your passions, awesome. Maybe you are I don't know, somebody that is really into school. You're somebody that's like, oh my gosh, my grades, the accolades that I'm getting in class, all these recognitions, that is just what does it for me, right? Maybe. And just humor me on this example. And that's cool. Congratulations. You're achieving all these amazing things. But what actually are you looking for? Are you looking for validation? Are you looking for some type of actual status? Are you looking for something that externally is going to validate that you are worthy of set material that you're sharing? Like an example, right? There's a lot of people out there that go and spend years in law school or years in, becoming a doctor, and then they're actually not fulfilled. They're not actually happy. They're living lives where in society terms, and if you're watching this video, you're seeing me do my little air quotes, but if you're not, you're listening to it, I'm doing air quotes as I'm saying this because that doesn't necessarily mean that that is equivalent to actual fulfillment in life. And I think that this is something that I can speak to for myself. When I think about certifications, right? I have been on this like rabbit hole many times where I'm like, I want to get certified for this, I want to get certified for that. My personality type is very much an ID. If you are interested in maybe doing an episode about personality types, there's like these like simple ways to set them apart, DISC. And the I and the D personality types are basically people oriented and then also still very much people that are leaders in terms of wanting to sometimes take over and control a lot of things. And the I part is very like, I want to make other people thrive and connect people. But a lot of the times there can be like these moments where I find myself looking for that external validation, right? Maybe it's, I want to get this certification, I want to get this course, I want to get this training, whatever it might be, in order for me to feel like I'm actually equipped to talk about whatever it is I'm talking about. For instance, with manifestations, I've spent over $100,000 in trainings and courses to better allow me to understand what exactly I can do in my life to really allow abundance and growth in all areas of my life to feel confident enough to share with more people, right? So I understand there's certain things in your life that you're going to want to look for that are going to help you feel more confident. Amazing. However, the problem becomes, in my opinion, when you make those the holy grail, the end all be all of your identity. So if I don't have these accolades, therefore I am not worthy of talking about energy. If I don't have these accolades, therefore I am not prepared to understand the laws of the universe and explain how if you're putting negative energy out, you're getting negative energy back. That at that point becomes a limiting belief. And we've talked about limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are essentially things that you are allowing yourself to condition you, to put you in this little bubble where that is all you're worthy of. That is all. It's kind of like the imposter syndrome, right? And if you really go deeper into that, there's so many people out there that they are so set on getting whatever that shiny object is, whether it's the nice house, the nice car, the nice degree, the perfect partner. And they think that when they receive that, then they'll be happy. They believe that when we actually accomplish a set goal, now I have lived my life fulfilled. And the reality is that you need to be living your life fulfilled without those things. Because ironically enough, when you're vibrating in that frequency, what you're doing is now attracting more of that energy into your life. So if I think I am healthy, wealthy, abundant in every single way because I actually have eyes to see and I have food to eat every day and I have a beautiful, my boys, my household, things that I'm thankful for that I already have in this 3D reality, I can start attracting more energies that are alike. And therefore, that is where the synchronicities, that is where the manifestations, that is where this actually starts playing out because you have believed in what it is that you're bringing into your awareness. What we focus on is what we are going to receive. And if now you can actually take the time to say, okay, who am I? Without all these recognitions, without all these external noises, who am I? This is something that a lot of people, when you ask them this question, and not sure where you're at on this spectrum, but if I ask you, like, who are you? Most of us would have answered, well, my name is Alexa and I live in Texas and I, have a real estate team and I am a manifestation coach, a transformative life coach. That's not who I am. That's not who you are. Whatever you filled in the blank, you're not that. Who are you to the core? I am somebody that is deeply passionate about actually furthering understanding what my life sole purpose is. I am somebody that is passionate about seeing others succeed. I am somebody that is passionate about being connected with nature. These are things that we can sit here and talk about, that's qualities of you. But at the end of the day, these qualities of me are actually what make me feel fulfilled. These are things that actually allow me to better understand myself, not these statuses, not these labels that society is putting onto us. Now, I really want to encourage you to listen to that episode that recently Greg Barden and Andrew DeQuam had on Know Thyself podcast, because it really talks about the divinity that we have as humans. And nowadays, society has conditioned us to believe that we are only this like meat suit and that all we are worthy of is working, making, money, having a family, and dying. And these are like the 4 pillars, and that's it. Obviously, add a few there if you, travel or whatever it might be. But for the most part, it's like this like rat race, right? Work really hard so that eventually you can make money, so that eventually you can have a family, so that eventually you can be happy, so that eventually you can die. And if you think about that, they were really talking about our divinity and sense of the purpose and our mission in life. And there's this amazing past life regression therapist that I love reading her books, Dolores Cannon. I highly recommend it. But she talks about how we are all connected, and she has conducted studies through completely different parts of the world. Okay, like I'm talking about, let's say you're in China right now and I am here in Texas, and we were placed under hypnotherapy, and they asked us about our past life. And as they asked about our past life, let's say you and I said the exact same thing. We don't know each other, we don't know of each other, we don't know anything, but we literally answered the same thing as to what happens in that past life that we have lived. And it goes very deep, so maybe we can do a whole other episode about that. I'd love to share my thoughts about my perspectives there. But it's really interesting if you think about the fact that We are all connected in this quantum energetic field. This universe, the more that you do research, the more science is starting to catch up with the fact that these like taboo things of energy are actually not some weird thing. Like it's actually a fact now. Like there's a lot of things that are coming about more and more. The emerald tablets, if you have not looked into them, I mean, oh my gosh, there's so much there to unpack. But why this is important is because you are a divine creature. You are divine and you have this essence within you to honestly create whatever you want. The choice is yours though. You can sit here and feel bad about your life all you want. And if that's what you choose to do with your time here on earth, then you have freedom of choice. Okay. That is a fact. You have your right to choose what you want to do. But in the end, if you know better, do better. And I think there's so much information nowadays available for us to really start to choose better than what we've been choosing in the past. Now, the second point I want to drive home here is you really need to make sure that you're finding time for you, your needs. A lot of the times we're so consumed with what does my husband want? What does my kids want? What does my grandmother, my parent, if you have your parents around, what is your boss looking for? All these other external things. What are your friends looking for? What do you need? Like, what do you need? And I'm not speaking from like a selfish perspective. I'm speaking from time for you to discover those things that we talked about, your purpose, your passions, your identity. And at the end of the day, allowing yourself to actually take that moment to honor yourself is so important. And I don't think that many of us do it. I think that many of us are just so consumed by just trying to obtain this like status, right? It's like if I got consumed about this podcast right now, like, oh my gosh, like it's not growing the way that I wanted to grow. What am I going to do? I'm going to put a negative energy into that versus I'm enjoying this. Like, I love it. If somebody is watching there and it's making an impact in them, this is my way of contributing to this massive awareness that is going on, that is happening at very rapid speeds, that it excites me to talk about these things. Whether you or whoever it is that, might have a different perspective, if they want to think I'm making this because I want people to see me in a certain light, that's their perspective. That's their problem, not mine. I'm doing it because I genuinely enjoy it. And I want to make sure that other people come across this material that has changed my life. And I'm hoping it will change more people's lives. So when we take time to really understand, let's honor thyself. Let's take time to really ensure that we are filling our cup. Because when we're trying to fill everybody else's cup, but we're not taking time to fill ours, you are going to deplete yourself. And I'm telling you, my friend, you're going to work yourself to your grave. And that is what so many people are doing nowadays. They're just so consumed on that instant gratification, on that perfect Pepsi body, on that, perfect gloss skin, on all these things, that we forget to really enjoy the little things, And again, we're human, so it's psychologically in our head that we see something else and we're like, oh, that's kind of nice, right? Like there's a reason why I dyed my hair, right? There's like, oh, I kind of want to try this out. So there's little things that we do, but don't let that be the only thing that is actually making you feel fulfilled, and actually look at inside of you to find out what those answers really mean and what it is that you're really doing to better understand yourself and honor yourself. Now, the last two that I want to make sure I leave you with today is enjoy the little things and embrace your human versus your awareness. When I talk about enjoying the little things, I mean, that's pretty obvious. Look up at the sky every now and then and say thank you. Thank you for all of the beautiful moments that we get to share, because even though maybe you're going through some turbulence in your life, I can almost guarantee you've had a smile in your time, in your life at one point or another. Be thankful for that. And maybe, just maybe, there will be more moments like that. And maybe, just maybe, if you start believing in the stuff we're talking about, that you can perceive your reality, you'll start bringing more of that into your life. Today, I went to go take my boys to get some stuff for their passports done. And my gosh, going with two boys to the law enforcement facilities was so fun. And my 3-year-old was going, off the rails over there. And there was several moments where I wanted to lose my cool and just be like, stop it. But I knew if I yelled or like raised my voice in any way, shape, or form, he was going to start crying bloody murder. And then it was going to be this whole thing. And every single time that I would have like that internal conflict within myself, like that one side saying like, well, you want to discipline him because you want to make sure that he understands that you're in control and that he cannot be acting like that. The other side of me was like, he's a kid. He's bored. You're bored. He's overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed. Like, relax, breathe, take a moment. Then I laughed even further because we went to the bathrooms. And for those of you that have never gone to Mexico and you've never crossed in like the border, there's like the bathrooms that you get to use. In those bathrooms, I am telling you, it's like you're literally like, we've seen those movies of the penitentiary. That's literally what I picture, because it's like a whole wall with literally like what you would think are your stalls, but without doors. And the bathrooms, the toilets are literally like no lid. You cannot sit. Like, you want to do like the little eagle as you're doing your business. It was a very humbling experience in that moment. And I say all this because there's things that you're always going to have in your life, no matter where you're going through or what you're doing. And you just need to remember to enjoy the little things. I remembered in that moment, I was like, man, I don't think I'm ever going to do this again with them, right? Like, it's the one and done. And the next time that they have to renew this, it's going to be when they're older. This is like a one time in a lifetime. And embracing your human versus your awareness really comes down to that human side of us that wants to react. That human side of us that says, answer her back. Why does she dare talk to you like that? How would you even put up with something like this? That response that you want to give out to the world, that is your human. Your awareness is the awareness that actually sees the thoughts and actually elevates above the thoughts and recognizes that you're not the thoughts and that you are the awareness above the thoughts. And I know that gets a little confusing for some, but the easiest way to understand it is that you're not your thoughts. Your thoughts are simply things that have been conditioned by things that you have gone through. Therefore, if you are somebody that was in a situation where you were very afraid, what ends up happening is that now your thoughts have actually molded you to believe a certain way. Therefore, every single time you see a car that's red, you get triggered because you think of your ex-husband or your ex-wife or your ex-girlfriend, whatever, fill in the blank. Become your awareness. Even when we take that time to be in our human, remember that you are this beautiful being having a physical experience in this physical body. And things that really help you get into this state is taking time to just make a list every day and list out all the things that you're thankful for instead of focusing on the things that you don't have. Take time to meditate. Take time to just be in the moment. And a lot of people say, I don't know how to meditate. I am telling you, you got this. You sit in a room, you relax, you breathe, you do some deep tongue twist, sorry. Do some deep breathing techniques. And that will allow you to essentially start getting more aware of everything that is happening in your body. Dr. Joe Dispenza has some amazing guided meditations. I highly recommend for those of you that have not seen the book, Becoming Supernatural, that have not read the book, read the book, Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. One of my manifestations is that I will meet Dr. Joe Dispenza at one point, and I'm telling you, he is somebody that articulates everything quite fascinating. And I just think that the more that we share these perspectives, the more that we share with more people, the things that are out there that can actually make us better, the more as a society we are elevating, and the more as a society we are becoming better and better. And be consistent. Lastly, just be consistent. Decide and move forward. There's nobody that's going to hold you accountable but you. Unless you get a coach, somebody that's going to help you. And for those of you that maybe you need somebody like that, definitely do your research. There's amazing coaches out there. I know that for some of my students, when we're talking about manifestations and things of that nature, it comes very easily to me because I now understand it. And don't get me wrong, I don't have all the answers by no means, because that person that says they know everything, they know nothing. However, there's certain things that I know that if I talk to a marketing expert, they're going to share with me in a way that I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And somebody that doesn't understand marketing, right? So if you lack in some of these pillars, find the right person, find that person that's going to guide you and help you, and hold yourself accountable. Remember, you need to visualize, that change. You need to embody that change so that you can transcend and be the walking manifestator that you, my friend, are born to be. With that, I will leave you. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you for all of you that have been following along these past episodes. And until the next one, I hope you have an amazing week. Talk to you guys soon.